Me and my boyfriend, both 24 at the time, rented a beautiful home. It was a large, older house with an elegant staircase, 2 bathrooms and 4 bedrooms. It was a rebuild, so it had history. Although it was stunning, it didn't feel like home. It felt empty and lonely. I initially just put that down to the lack of decor and the size of the house. It all started off one night. I felt as though I was being watched. This continued until moving out. A long corridor led out from the lounge and it felt like something was glaring from down the hallway. That same night, my boyfriend was working late, so I hopped into our jacuzzi bathtub to relax for a bit. As I sat down in the boiling hot water, I put my head back and began to chill out with my eyes closed. This moment of euphoria was interrupted when the front door down the hall slammed, then heavy footsteps sounding like boots stomped through the corridor and stopped. Right outside the bathroom door. He must have had a bad night at work, I thought to myself, preparing myself for a rubbish night. He didn't try to enter or even speak. "Honey, you okay?" I said and got no response. I couldn't relax now and got out to confront him. I opened the bathroom door but no one was there. I was shaking as I looked down the hallway, but again, I saw no one. I went back into the bathroom to grab my phone to ring him when I heard the front door open again and he was humming. He was definitely in a good mood. He even jokingly said, "I knew you'd be in the tub," then laughed. I was shaking as I explained what had happened. He said he'd heard it a few times himself but didn't want to scare me. A few weeks later, we were chilling on the sofa. It was a bright, beautiful day, and we were talking about our plans for the day when suddenly the front door flew open with such force that it hit the wall behind it. We just agreed it must have been very windy outside. So we checked, but there wasn't any wind. 4 days later, I see what looks like an orb, out of the corner of my eye, come down from upstairs. I looked at it and it floated up to the ceiling and then vanished. There were no cars passing at the time and the curtains were all closed. I was terrified as goosebumps began forming on my arms. I shouted my boyfriend in. He looked shaken and said, "Yeah, it likes to be seen." We had both fallen asleep while watching a TV program. It was the middle of winter, and it was cold in the house due to the size of it and the cost to keep it warm. I woke up with the feeling of being watched. I looked to the side of me when I noticed my boyfriend had a weird look on his face and was staring right at me. I was freaked out, but asked if he was okay. He didn't respond, he just passed out. Later that day, I asked him about it. He said he had woken up just before me. He was disoriented, then said it felt like someone was hitting the sofa. His eyes were suddenly drawn to me. His teeth began to clench to the point his jaw ached and he started to growl. A deep, guttural growling. He began to feel angry as he looked at me sleeping. Then he snapped out of it. He looked at me confused and sat there in silence. We moved out of that house and I was so thankful.